Since it's 2 minutes past 12, I guess it's good afternoon, everybody. Don't know who was first in there. Chris, you're waving at me, so I'm going to let you go first.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Can hear you okay, Chris? Yep.
Oh, great. Okay, thank you. Yes, thanks for organising this. I mean, I was at the launch event last week. I just wanted to check the dates that you've specified are obviously quite specific. That's 35 weeks, I think. Is that what you've sort of set it as to be the sort of project duration? You know, I think that's what I calculated it as, but I just wanted to check because obviously that's going to work into the costings.
Yeah, we've been saying an 8 month slot, I think, Chris. Just double check. I'm looking at Angela. She's the one that knows the figures, or Jan. I'm not the best one on that one.
Yes, it's up to 8 months.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be that long. So some people might plan it to start at a certain month because they've got resource available, and they might do more work in a shorter period of time. So it's up to that period. Right. It doesn't have to be, and just sometimes it can take, though hopefully not, there can be delays setting up contracts and things like that, though we've tried to do everything we can to minimise that. But that's the maximum amount of time available, but you don't have to use all of it.
No, well, I mean, I had another question. I mean, it's given getting, I mean, I assume you're mainly after research which includes a primary sort of investigation, so that's obviously takes ethical approval, which at Liverpool University where I work can be quite a long process. I mean, are you very sort of agnostic about what sort of data people collect? Could it be sort of survey data, for example, or are you sort of tending to think, well, you know, interviews are going to be more the type of thing we're after? Do you have any preference along those lines?
No preference. We are totally open-minded.
Right. Okay. Okay. I might then. I think last week you said that I could just send in a draft of an idea, just to check that it was sort of going along the right lines. So I will try and do that if that's okay, rather than sort of discuss it now.
It's a good point about ethics approval, though, Chris. I know my own institution during COVID, we were doing there was monthly panels, and we're still doing that at the moment. But I'm guessing you're right. Maybe not all universities are doing that. No,
getting ethical approval can be like submitting a paper. You get it back with corrections, and then you do it again, and so you go backwards and forwards. So you know, obviously, ethics are very important, and what have you. But it's eating into what is not that big a time window anyway. Given it's right across the main sort of teaching cycle of most universities, I would say. So. Okay, but that's fine. Thank you very much for answering those.
Great.
I think Elaine's next.
Hi, guys. Thank you for the opportunity again. Just a quick question on interdisciplinary. Do you have any particular guidance as to what you consider interdisciplinary? Because there's various different people think different things. I mean, how far does it have to be outside? Is it within a business school? Is that not really interdisciplinary enough? Or are we talking about going further outside into different social sciences? Do you have any, or engineering or any other disciplines come to that?
So what we saw last time is some people put in bids that were purely engineering, which really doesn't fit the remit of Interact. So I think the minimum would be that there needs to be at least a social science and something else. So a social science could be with engineering, it could be two social sciences, but there has to be genuine bringing together of different perspectives as opposed to playing lip service to it, because we're all about interactions. So if we're not funding something that creates interactions that wouldn't normally happen, then we're not living up to our name. I don't know whether you've got a different perspective on that, Jill.
No, I think that's probably That's my view. I don't think we're not stipulating that it has to be across, technology and social science necessarily. I think a lot of them will be, but I think you could do a good bit of research for this particular call, and it's maybe just within the social sciences. So I don't have a problem with that.
Okay, so within two sort of, because I mean, probably social science covers such a vast range, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So, but you're comfortable if it's within social sciences, but clearly not too closely allied. If it's too close in like within a business.
Probably accounting and finance.
Yeah, okay, maybe not that. I was thinking a bit broader than that. Don't worry, Jen.
No, I think that's fine. I think as long as it's like applicable to kind of manufacturing and digital technology, we're not that worried.
Okay, that's
So
fine.
in a way, you don't have to have a So I think this was one of the questions asked last time. Manufacturing's a context.
Yeah.
It has to be the context.
You don't necessarily have to be a collaborator in that space, but as long as we can see the potential.
Okay, yeah, no, that's fine. Thank you. I'll go large.
Good.
Thank you.
Then it's Medina.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Brilliant. I have a couple of questions. So I was just wondering whether I would be eligible to apply for this grant as well as the impact grant that closed on Monday.
Yes, no reason why you can't apply for more than one thing. Absolutely.
Okay, that's brilliant. And
as long as you've got the time to do it.
and can I use this? Would I potentially be able to use this grant to further the aims and objectives of the first grant?
So really, you should have done them the other way around, Medina. So the impact grants really should have been about, if you take research that's already been done, how do we turn it into exciting outputs? So in a way, you'd perhaps use this grant to do the research and then the other grant to increase its impact and outreach.
Right. Okay. And I was also wondering whether there is some sort of prohibition or limit on involvement with business or industry.
No, we're keen to have you engage with industry. I think we've said that you can't be paying their costs more than 10% of the grant. Is that right, Jan?
Yes.
I think that's what we've said.
Okay. And I was just wondering, so what if there are, for example, two co-investigators and they're from the same department? Would that be okay?
It's fine.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
Who was next up? Nicole.
Yeah.
Hi, Nicole.
Hello. Hiya. So the world of academia is new to me, and I'm asking for a friend. So it's how to interact with this this call, in that I have an interesting question in terms of a technology provider has obviously they have a sales funnel and they get a number of companies down the sales funnel to adopt and to innovate with their solution. But there's a whole load of interactions at the top of that sales funnel where they don't actually convert into orders. And I think that's quite an interesting question for the sales team, in that how come they're not getting those orders over the line? Is it to do with the fact that the company doesn't really understand the technology? Is it because it's a technology where they're working more from a top level sort of ERP down, and it's that bottom level data, and so I'm looking for bigger brains to help look at that data and come up with I guess not a prognosis. I don't know what the academic term would be. Shine a light on some of the reasonings why companies don't invest in technology solutions.
Nicole, I think this is a really interesting one. For those who don't know Nicole is kind of part of the Made Smarter innovation community through KTN. Works with a lot of companies. And I think the point that you're making is that there's a kind of gap in understanding about why do companies not adopt digital technology. And I think that's a really fascinating area that probably a lot of social scientists would be interested in. Problem is, again, access to these companies that don't adopt digital technologies is probably problematic. So do you think you or your friend could make access possible for researchers?
Absolutely. I think in terms of in interrogating sales funnel data and digging down and understanding why companies didn't go. I mean, obviously, some companies will look at 5 different solutions and they'll choose one.
Yeah.
You know, that's a very kind of cut and dry. But if they choose not to invest at all, that's the kind of the pinpoint. So I know for sure 2 companies where, yes, they will open up the data within their sales funnel for investigation.
Well, that's great, Nicole. I mean, this is the kind of thing that we said, come along to this meeting if you want to do collaborations and partnerships, and you're kind of brokering an open door. If any of the researchers want to kind of knock it, can they get in contact with you directly, Nicole?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll put my email address in the chat.
In the chat, that would be great.
Yeah, so I think this is a brilliant example whereby Nicole's essentially and the organisation that her friend works for are essentially saying, here's a research question, here's a manufacturing or an industrial digital technology provider context. We'll give you access to that company as a case study. Is there somebody that would like to write their Interact bid around that opportunity? So for those
Thank
of
you for putting it so nicely, Jan. Thank you.
So if anybody wants to chat directly to Nicole now, then you can, or you can take it offline. It's completely up to you. Who was next up? Was it Jan?
Yeah, hi, good afternoon. Thank you very much for organizing this. So my question is about overseas collaboration. So would it be possible to have co-Is from overseas institutions or like universities?
At the moment, we're not funding co-Is internationally. And correct me if I'm wrong in that, Dan. We're hoping that in the near future we will be looking at international things. Right now, this pot, we can't fund them. They could be an investigator. They could be named, but we couldn't fund their time, I think, is the line. Angela, does that sound right to you? Yeah.
Okay, so it's more about the costing, right?
Yes. So happy for them to be involved, and longer term there might be opportunities where we might be able to fund them, but on this particular call, we can't fund overseas researchers. They could be involved, but we can't buy their time or anything.
Okay, understand. And there will be chance to include them, involve them as partners, I guess.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
I think, yep.
So you could write your bid with them as a named PI, but they're just unfunded.
Okay, sure. And another related question is, so is comparative studies across countries something you would be interested?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I understand the aim of this is more like the UK manufacturing sector. But if like we could learn from the other countries, their best practices, for example, and how this could be leveraged into the UK context, would that be something you would be interested?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that's the question.
And again, if you want to chat offline, if you want to talk about particular focus areas that you're thinking about, happy to do that.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you.
Is it Han that's next up?
Hi. Thank you very much. I missed the first session because I was not aware of this code until my colleague forwarded the code. So I may miss the aim and objective a bit, and I would like to clarify the aim of the Interact for this code. Is that you mentioned that the research already been done and tried? No. All right.
Not this one. So Interact is all about helping manufacturers to adopt digital technology and helping the innovators to kind of diffuse their technology to manufacturers. Interact is particularly about the social science element. So how can social science ideas kind of come to help the aims of the Made Smarter Challenge? And we've got a number of calls out. So recently we had a call out that was about impact, and it was existing research. How can we make that actionable? and make it useful. So that was a past call that's just closed.
Yeah.
Today we're talking about the open call, which is about research. So it's about new research, but quite short projects of 8 months in length. That's more about social science researchers rather than the technologists. And kind of topical areas we've talked about, things like how does digital affect well-being in manufacturing? How does it affect diversity and inclusion? Kind of what are the right business models, or how do we change our business model because of digital technology? Issues around place and levelling up. These are all kind of topics that we've maybe kind of suggested as possible, but lots more as well as that.
Yeah. So I would like to know really whether the academic impact is more consider high weight than the society impact and economic impacts.
I think we're looking for actionable impact out of any project that we do, but this one, it is a research project, so we'll be evaluating you on things like contribution, rigor of the research, the value for money, how you're managing it, and the final one being impact. So impact, you might talk about impact in the academic world, but you might also talk about more actionable impact for policymakers or manufacturers or technology companies.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking of bringing into research partner from the industry. So we got several partner, we got the technological vendor, the provider, and we also have a manufacturing company, and we aim to focus more on exporting. So kind of we want to understand the real challenges that facing them and design a solution for them. And do we expect that we will apply that solution at the company level, or we just
it's quite applied? Is it more applied research for one particular company?
Not necessarily. We just thinking in terms of we bring them in and to understand the real life.
I think if it's generalizable, I think that's absolutely fine. Yeah.
It sounds like a case study, and obviously increasing exports is one of the specific MSI objectives. So it's in alignment with that. What you just need to, as Jill says, make sure that your method. This is all about, so for any of you who attended the workshop around writing a good research bid or improving your increasing the chance of small grant success, if you didn't attend the workshop, you can look at the recording on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. But one of the most important things is to make sure that you actually answer the questions that we set you. I think one of the other things we strongly recommend is getting a colleague, a critical friend, to score your bid against our marking criteria, because we've made our marking criteria very explicit. So you need somebody to make sure that what you've written aligns well against those, because our experience to date has been we haven't necessarily funded some of the best ideas because they weren't written in the best way. And what we'd like to make sure is that people aren't missing out on funding because they've not written up their idea in the right way.
Yeah. And I think I got another question about the primary investigation. So you said that either survey or interview, it doesn't matter. But also, I want to know about the side of the expect side of the primary investigation. For example, if it is a survey, to how last you expected the size of the survey, and also similar for the interviews. Yeah.
We've not got any fixed ideas on that. You've got a maximum of 8 months, so you've just got to be reasonable about what could be achieved. In terms of when we're looking at value for money, we'll be saying, will they be able to do this? Is it realistic? As well as, is it good value for money? So don't go too mad if it's too difficult to do in that period of time.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions? Can't see any other hands. I'm just going to check the chat. There's nobody put anything in the chat that we've missed.
Don't think so, Jill.
No, just Nicole's got our little note there for if anybody was interested in following up with Nicole, which would be good. Is there anybody here like Nicole who's interested but maybe looking to partner up with somebody? Is there anybody who wants to put anything in chat that, you know, perhaps you've got a skill or a capability or a resource that you think would be useful, but maybe you're looking for a partner? So if anybody's in that position, now's probably a good time to try and make these connections.
Can I just ask to clarify about the partner here? Is that the research partner or kind of beneficiary?
Could be either. I mean, there could be people who put in bids that are just purely academic, and that's absolutely fine. You could, as in your case, you could perhaps have stakeholders who are industry or government organisations, for example. You might even have somebody who's working as a partner on the project, as long as you're not spending any more than 10% of the budget on that organisation, then you're okay. But it could just be academic people working on research.
I think in terms of track record, what are you looking for? Evidence of track record. Is that publication in the area we propose, research funding in the area? Yeah.
It's a bit of both.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So again, it's not specific, but what we want to see is a pathway to impact.
Yeah.
And as you'd have heard, it wouldn't be beyond the realms of possibility for you to create some impact that's perhaps maybe a report that's industry facing. I think we'd like to see that there's something that's industry facing or an actionable. So one of the strap lines for us is about creating actionable insights. So although these are research projects, we would hope that you are presenting your findings in a way that would be relatable to an industrial digital technology provider or a manufacturer or a policymaker. It doesn't have to be all of them. It could be one of those audiences. You could put some money within this bid to create that impact. So I think Andreas is I saw he was on the call earlier, he might have dropped off, but he was successful in round one, and they actually put some money within their systematic lit review bid to actually create some actionable insights and some good outputs. So I think we would look quite favourably on people that had considered not just using the money to do the research, but also perhaps using some of these funds to actually create actionable insights that can be used by the manufacturers, industrial digital technology providers and policymakers.
Yeah. Can I just follow up the question? Can we bring it actionable in terms of providing some digital skill for the small firm? Or is that something you consider it, or it's too far?
Sorry, just explain again.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking in terms of if we identify the problem and we know some shortage in terms of technology, digital skill that the firm may face with, and then we bring in to create the impact like actionable to provide some digital skill training for the company. Some.
I think we're hesitating on this one because that sounds more like something you might do for the impact accelerator. It might be that you maybe so not so much on this bid, which is a research bid, but maybe if there's another call for impact accelerator, you might have identified there's a gap for certain training, and you might apply for the impact accelerator. I think it was £15,000 to make things actionable. And it might be that you make a training resource or something around that skills gap that you've identified. That's the kind of thing we would fund through the impact accelerator.
Yeah.
That's an excellent example, Jill, really, of how, and that's why we're not saying that you can't apply for multiple grants from Interact. If you took it so far for this one and then actually wanted to do something like, Jill said, through the impact acceleration grants, that would be great. We'd see that as a positive thing, not as a negative thing.
Yeah. Thank you.
The other thing that you asked earlier on, I don't know whether other people are thinking on it, but management. So there is one of the criteria in the marking scheme that we'll put out to the peer reviewers is about management. And we're really keen to encourage people at all stages of their career to engage with Interact. So early career researchers, mid-career people, senior people. But if it is an early career person, they might not have a strong track record. But the kind of thing you might think about is how can you involve a bit of mentorship from somebody more experienced that would give us a bit of confidence. So you don't need to have a track record in having grants yourself, but if you can say you've got an advisor or a mentor or something, that probably gives us a little bit more confidence if you don't have that established track record.
I've just shared the link to our How to Writing Better Applications workshop.
Great, thanks, Sasha. And Nicole's put another one on as well, asking about, does the investigator have to be an academic? We will give the money to an academic institution. So the principal investigator needs to be associated with a university, so the university will get paid. How the university then spend the money, if you've got other partners, is really up to that university to make that arrangement. Is that right, Angela? So the principal investigator would have to be based in an academic or research organisation.
Yeah, that's correct.
I think we've finished the questions, have we?
Yeah, that's good.
Great.
I think if we still have some more time, can I just ask about the timeline or the support? Because the project will end in July, that is my understanding. So I think during the project, I think if someone successful with the get award, so when they expected to sign the contract and kind of the timeline for the primary research and reporting and what the output you expect.
So I think in the documents, Angela outlined the timeline.
Yeah.
The reason why we want things finished by July is that we may possibly ask you to present in some way or another at our annual conference, which is likely to take place in September or October.
Yeah.
We've developed, Angela's worked incredibly hard to develop a very efficient and effective process for contract signing.
Yeah.
So Angela, you might just want to run through the dates.
I think the peer review results will be out mid-October.
Yeah.
So once we've informed the successful applicants, then we'll start drafting contracts. Like any university, these do take quite a while to do, but we'll try to get them out hopefully within 3 to 4 weeks. And we only contract with the lead investigator. If you've got a proposal with several other investigators from other universities, we won't contract with them. It will just be with the lead, and then it's up to your university if they want to have a subcontract with the other investigators.
And Angela, we've developed a standard contract, haven't we?
We
are not to deviate from because it's been agreed with the ESRC. And given the size of the grants, and I don't think to date nobody's asked for any deviations from it. But the idea is, if you sign up for the grant, you accept the standard contract terms. Just because we need to move, obviously we've got a number of these to manage, and so therefore we need it to be efficient. So I don't think we went quite as far as insisting that when you submit, you sign up to our terms and conditions. But essentially, there's an understanding that we don't negotiate the terms and conditions. It's a standard contract.
Yeah. And they're on the website already. Yes.
Is it have we made it a formal requirement to accept them, Angela, when they submit?
It just says that they're not negotiable. So it's best to check with your own university if they are agreeable with your university. It's because we can't keep tailoring, individual contracts for single people. We want to make this a very sort of general contract for all our commissioned research.
There might be some people from research offices on the call, but there's quite we seem to be very thin on the ground across the UK in terms of research office staff at the moment. So this is part of trying to just get projects up and running quickly.
Okay, well, I think if everybody's asked their questions, then we'll let you go and actually get some lunch today.